What if the reason you feel empty, restless, and constantly seeking validation from others is because you've abandoned the one person who matters most, yourself? For years, you've been taught that self-love is selfish, that humility means self-neglect, that putting yourself first is arrogance. But the Stoics knew a radical truth. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. You cannot lead others if you cannot lead yourself. You cannot love the world if you hate the person staring back at you in the mirror. Today, you'll discover 7 Stoic self-love practices that 95% of people will never do because they require courage, discipline, and the willingness to face yourself without flinching. These aren't affirmations. These aren't feel-good platitudes. These are the forging fires that build unshakable self-respect. Watch till the end. The practice you skip might be the one keeping you from becoming the person you were meant to be. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, sat alone in his tent on the frozen battlefields of Germania. He could have indulged in every luxury, every distraction, every external validation. Instead, he wrote to himself in his private journal. What we now call meditations remind himself of a fundamental truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This wasn't just philosophy. This was survival. This was self-preservation in its highest form. Marcus understood that true self-love isn't narcissism, it's the disciplined practice of treating yourself with the same honor, truth, and respect you demand from others. But here's what modern culture gets dangerously wrong. Self-love has been watered down into bubble baths and positive affirmation. Meanwhile, the ancient Stoics practiced something far more demanding: self-accountability, self-honesty, and self-mastery. They knew that loving yourself means refusing to betray yourself. It means setting standards so high that mediocrity becomes unbearable. Why does this matter now? Because we live in an age of performance, performing happiness on social media, performing success to impress strangers, performing confidence we don't genuinely feel. Underneath the performance is hollowness. The 95% will keep performing until they collapse. The 5% will practice what you're about to learn. In this video, we'll explore 7 radical Stoic self-love practices that will transform how you see yourself, speak to yourself, and build your life. These practices will strip away the lies you've been told and rebuild your relationship with the most important person you'll ever know you. By the end, you won't need external validation. You'll have forged something far more powerful: unshakable self-respect. Let's begin. Practice 1. Guard your inner dialogue like a fortress. Epictetus, who spent years as a slave before becoming one of the most influential Stoic teachers, taught his students in the Enchiridion, if you do not wish to be prone to anger, do not feed the habit. Give it nothing to help its increase. He was speaking about the internal narratives we allow to run unchecked in our minds. But here's the deeper truth he was illuminating: the way you speak to yourself creates the reality you inhabit. Every thought is a brick. You're either building a fortress of strength or a prison of self-destruction. The 95% allow their inner dialogue to become a toxic wasteland. They speak to themselves with a cruelty they would never inflict on another human being. I'm so stupid. I always fail. I'm not good enough. These aren't just thoughts, they're self-inflicted wounds that bleed your power away. Over time, this internal abuse becomes your identity. You start believing the lies. You start living down to the expectations of your own inner critic. The Stoics understood you are in a constant conversation with yourself, and that conversation shapes everything. Self-love begins with linguistic discipline. It begins with guarding your mind as if your life depends on it, because it does. Here's how to apply this immediately. First, for the next 24 hours, become aware of your self-talk. Don't try to change it yet, just observe it. Notice when you criticize yourself. Notice when you diminish your worth. Write it down if you must. Second, replace one critical thought with one truthful thought. Not a fake affirmation, but actual truth. Instead of "I'm such a failure," say "I made a mistake, and I will learn from it." Third, speak to yourself as you would speak to someone you deeply respect, because you should respect yourself that deeply. This isn't positive thinking. This is self-defense. This is refusing to allow the enemy to broadcast poison through your own voice. The 5% understand your mind is your territory. Guard it, protect it, honor it. But knowing this isn't enough, there's another principle that builds on this foundation. Let's move to practice 2. Practice 2. Daily self-examination without judgment. Seneca wrote in his letters to Lucilius, letter 28, the mind must be recalled to itself every day. He practiced this ruthlessly. Each night before sleep, he would review his entire day, not to punish himself, but to learn. What did I do well? Where did I fall short? Where did I betray my principles? This wasn't self-criticism. This was self-respect. Too many people confuse self-examination with self-hatred. They avoid looking inward because they're terrified of what they'll find. So they distract themselves, scrolling, drinking, working, anything to avoid the mirror. But here's what the Stoics knew: you cannot improve what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot love yourself if you're too cowardly to face yourself. The problem this solves is profound. Without daily self-examination, you drift. You repeat the same mistakes. You betray your values without even noticing. You become a stranger to yourself. The 95% live on autopilot, wondering why nothing changes. They refuse the discomfort of honest self-reflection, and they pay for it with stagnation. The 5% practice something different. Every evening they sit in silence for 10 minutes and ask 3 questions. 1. What did I do today that aligned with who I want to become? Acknowledge your wins without arrogance. You showed up. You kept a commitment. You chose discipline over distraction. Honor that. 2. Where did I fall short of my own standard? Not your boss's standards, not society's standards, yours. Be specific. Be honest. No excuses. 3. What will I do tomorrow to close the gap? This isn't about guilt. It's about growth. It's about using today's data to build a better tomorrow. Here's the critical distinction. This practice is rooted in love, not shame. You're not tearing yourself down. You're building yourself up through truth. The warrior inspects his armor not because he hates himself, but because he respects his mission too much to go into battle unprepared. The 5% know the examined life is the only life worth living, and self-examination without judgment is the highest form of self-respect. Remember that inner dialogue we discussed. This practice amplifies it. Practice 3. Set boundaries with yourself. First, Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, Book 4. 3. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. But here's what most people miss. Before you can set boundaries with the external world, you must set boundaries with yourself. Let me explain. The 95% set no internal boundaries. They make promises to themselves and break them instantly. I'll wake up at 5 a.m. snooze button. I'll stop drinking. 1 beer turns into 6. I'll stop tolerating disrespect. They tolerate it again. Every broken promise to yourself is an act of self-betrayal, and self-betrayal destroys self-love faster than anything else. The Stoics understood integrity isn't just about how you treat others. It's about how you treat yourself. When you consistently break promises to yourself, you learn that you cannot be trusted. And if you can't trust yourself, how can you possibly love yourself? This is the hidden epidemic. People wonder why they feel so empty, so disconnected, so unworthy. It's because they've spent years proving to themselves that they're unreliable. They've taught themselves that their word means nothing even to themselves. Here's the practical application, and it starts small first. Make 1 promise to yourself today. Not 10. 1. Something achievable. I will not check my phone for the first hour after waking. I will walk for 20 minutes. I will not interrupt people when they speak. Whatever it is, make it clear and make it non-negotiable. Second, keep that promise no matter what. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if you don't feel like it, your feelings are irrelevant. Your integrity is everything. Third, repeat this daily. Build the evidence that you are someone who does what they say. This is how self-trust is forged. The transformation is profound. When you keep promises to yourself, you begin to respect yourself. When you respect yourself, you naturally set boundaries with others. You stop tolerating toxic relationships. You stop accepting scraps. You stop negotiating with people who don't value you because you've learned to value yourself. The 5% understand boundaries with yourself, create boundaries with the world. Self-discipline is self-love, and every promise kept is a deposit in the bank of self-respect. If you think this is powerful, what comes next will blow your mind. Practice 4. Embrace voluntary discomfort. Seneca practiced something shocking to modern sensibilities. In Letters to Lucilius, letter 18, he wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, is this the condition that I feared?" He would intentionally sleep on the floor, eat simple food, wear worn clothing, not because he was poor, but because he was wise. This is radical self-love disguised as self-denial. Here's what Seneca understood. When you voluntarily embrace discomfort, you prove to yourself that you can handle it. You remove fear's power. You build resilience. You stop being a slave to comfort. Modern culture sells you a lie. Self-love means pampering yourself. Treat yourself. Indulge. Never be uncomfortable. But this creates the opposite of self-love. It creates weakness, dependency, and fear. When you require perfect conditions to feel okay, you're fragile. You're one setback away from collapse. The 95% avoid all discomfort. They stay in their comfort zone, believing they're protecting themselves, but they're actually imprisoning themselves. They become so soft that the slightest hardship shatters them. A cold shower feels like torture. A skipped meal feels like death. Criticism feels like annihilation. They've lost their resilience because they've never tested it. The Stoics practiced the opposite. They voluntarily trained in hardship so that when real hardship came, and it always comes, they were ready. They loved themselves enough to strengthen themselves. Here's your action plan. Start with cold exposure. End your shower with 30 seconds of cold water. It's uncomfortable. It's shocking. It's exactly what you need. Your body will resist, but your mind will grow stronger. Second, practice fasting. Skip one meal this week. Notice the discomfort. Notice that you survive. Notice that hunger is just a sensation, not an emergency. Third, say no to one comfort you habitually reach for. The third glass of wine, the mindless scrolling, the excessive sleep. Choose intentional discomfort over automatic indulgence. This isn't punishment, this is preparation. This is you loving yourself enough to build a version of you that can handle anything. The warrior doesn't wait for battle to test his armor. He tests it daily in training. The 5% know. True self-love makes you strong. False self-love makes you soft. And voluntary discomfort is the forge where resilient self-respect is hammered into being. But before we get to the next practice, you need to understand something crucial. Practice 5. Refuse to explain yourself to everyone. Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by senators and advisors who questioned his every decision, wrote in Meditations, Book 6, 51. Nothing is more wretched than a man who traverses everything around and pries into the things beneath the earth and seeks by conjecture what is in the minds of his neighbors, without perceiving that it is sufficient to attend to the divine spirit within himself. Translation: stop seeking permission, stop seeking validation. Stop explaining your choices to people who haven't earned the right to question you. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Every time you over-explain yourself to someone who doesn't respect you, you diminish yourself. You're essentially saying, my worth is determined by whether you approve. That's not self-love, that's self-abandonment. The 95% are trapped in this cycle. They justify their career choices to family members who never took risks. They explain their boundaries to toxic people who will violate them anyway. They seek approval from critics who will never be satisfied. And with every explanation, they give away their power. They teach others that their decisions are up for debate. The Stoics understood you answer to yourself first. Your conscience, your principles, your standards. If you are living in alignment with those, no explanation is necessary. If you are not living in alignment with those, no explanation will suffice. This doesn't mean arrogance or rudeness. It means sovereignty. It means recognizing that you don't owe everyone access to your reasoning. Some people have earned the right to your inner world, your trusted friends, your mentors, the people who've proven they have your best interest at heart. Everyone else, they get your decision, not your justification. Here's how to practice this. 1. The next time someone questions your choice, pause before responding. Ask yourself, does this person have my best interest at heart? Or are they projecting their fears onto me? If it's the latter, your response is simple. I've thought it through, and this is what's right for me. Full stop. 2. Stop defending your boundaries. No is a complete sentence. When you start justifying why you can't do something, you're negotiating. Stop negotiating. 3. Limit. Who gets access to your inner world? Not everyone deserves to know your struggles, your doubts, your process. Protect your mental and emotional space like the sacred territory it is. The transformation here is liberation. When you stop explaining yourself to people who don't matter, you reclaim your energy. You stop living in reaction to others' opinions. You start living from your own center of gravity. The 5% understand self-love means protecting your peace more than you crave approval. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to simply say, I don't owe you an explanation, and walk away. Remember that self-examination practice we discussed. This amplifies it even further. Practice 6. Celebrate your progress without external validation. Epictetus taught his students he is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. This sounds simple, but in practice, it's revolutionary. Most people cannot celebrate themselves without an audience. They need the likes, the comments, the applause. Without external validation, their accomplishments feel hollow. This is tragic, because when your sense of achievement depends on others recognizing it, you've handed them the keys to your happiness. You've made yourself a prisoner to their attention. The 95% live like this. They accomplish something meaningful, but if nobody notices, it doesn't count. They improve themselves, but if nobody comments on it, it feels pointless. They've trained themselves to need the crowd's approval to feel worthy, and the crowd is fickle, distracted, and often indifferent. So they spend their lives chasing validation that never satisfies. The Stoics practiced internal validation. Marcus Aurelius didn't write meditations for publication, he wrote it for himself. Seneca's letters were personal correspondence, not public performances. These men found satisfaction in the work itself, in the improvement itself, in the alignment with their principle. That was enough. Here's the practice. And it requires discipline. Every evening, after your self-examination, write down 3 wins from the day. Not accomplishments that others would celebrate, wins that you value. Maybe you kept your temper when provoked. Maybe you chose the hard conversation over avoidance. Maybe you showed up to your workout when every fiber wanted to quit. Write it down. Acknowledge it. Let it be enough. Second, stop sharing every achievement on social media. Do something meaningful and keep it private. Feel the satisfaction of knowing without needing others to know. This is where true self-respect is built in, the private victories that nobody sees. Third, when you do share something, check your intention. Are you sharing to inspire or to seek validation? Be honest. If it's the latter, consider keeping it to yourself. This isn't about isolation or pride. It's about building an internal locus of validation. It's about teaching yourself that your approval matters most. When you can look in the mirror and say, I'm proud of who I'm becoming, and that's enough, you've achieved something rare and powerful. The 5% know the opinions of others are data points, not definition. And the most important celebration happens in the quiet moments, when you acknowledge your own growth, with no audience required. But knowing this isn't enough. There's one more practice, perhaps the most difficult of all. Practice 7. Forgive yourself without forgetting the lesson Marcus Aurelius faced this daily. As emperor, every decision carried life or death consequences. In Meditations, Book 9:42, he wrote, "When you have done a good deed and someone else has benefited, why do you look for a third thing besides credit for doing a good deed or a return?" But he also extended this wisdom inward. When you have made a mistake, why do you look for endless self-punishment beyond the lesson learned? This is the practice the 95% will never master, the ability to forgive themselves completely while refusing to forget what they learned. Most people fall into one of two traps. Either they beat themselves up endlessly for past mistakes, ruminating, spiraling, living in shame, or they excuse everything, learn nothing, and repeat the same patterns. Both are forms of self-abandonment. The Stoics walked a razor's edge, acknowledge the mistake, extract the lesson, make amends if possible, then release it completely. Carrying guilt beyond its usefulness isn't noble, it's self-indulgent. It's using shame as a hiding place from the hard work of actual change. Here's why this matters so much. You cannot love someone you refuse to forgive. And if you're still punishing yourself for who you were 5 years ago, you're not loving yourself, you're torturing yourself. Self-love means recognizing that you were doing the best you could with the awareness you had at the time, and now you know better, so you do better. The practical application requires courage. First, write down one mistake you're still punishing yourself for. Be specific. What happened? What was the impact? Now write, what did this teach me? Extract every lesson. What do you know now that you didn't know then? What will you do differently? Write it all down. Second, write yourself a letter of forgiveness. I forgive myself for, because I was your circumstances' level of awareness. I have learned less, and I will honor this lesson by future. Read it aloud, feel it, mean it. Third, create a physical ritual of release. Burn the paper, tear it up, ceremonially let it go. The lesson stays with you, the shame does not. This is the difference between wisdom and martyrdom. The wise person learns from pain and moves forward stronger. The martyr clings to pain as identity, refusing to heal because they believe suffering proves something. It doesn't. Growth proves something. Change proves something. Suffering alone proves nothing. The 5% understand self-forgiveness is not weakness, it's the ultimate act of self-respect. You are worthy of mercy. You are worthy of a fresh start. And every day you wake up is an opportunity to honor the lesson without carrying the burden. These 7 practices aren't just ideas, they're the architecture of unshakable self-love. Let's bring this home. Let's be clear about what you've just learned. Practice 1. Guard your inner dialogue like a fortress, because the enemy of your potential is broadcasting through your own voice. Practice 2. Daily self-examination. Without judgment, face yourself with courage, not criticism. Practice 3. Set boundaries with yourself first. Self-discipline is self-love, and every kept promise builds unshakable self-trust. Practice 4. Embrace voluntary discomfort. Strength is the highest form of self-respect, and comfort is a slow-acting poison. Practice 5. Refuse to explain yourself to everyone. Sovereignty means you answer to your principles, not the crowd's opinion. Practice 6. Celebrate your progress without external validation. Your approval is the only approval that truly matters. Practice 7. Forgive yourself without forgetting the lesson. Mercy and wisdom are not opposites, they're partners in growth. These aren't just practices, They're the daily rituals that separate the 5% from the 95%. The 95% will watch the video, nod along, and change nothing. They'll go back to self-betrayal, self-criticism, and seeking validation from people who don't even know themselves. They'll stay comfortable, stay weak, stay stuck. But not you. You understand now that self-love isn't selfish, it's strategic. It's the foundation upon which every other success is built. You cannot lead if you don't respect yourself. You cannot love others deeply if you haven't learned to love yourself truly. And you cannot change the world if you haven't first changed the relationship you have with the person in the mirror. The Stoics didn't write these truths for entertainment. They wrote them for survival, for strength, for the warriors who understand that life is not a comfort contest, it's a forge. And every day, you're either hardening into something unbreakable or crumbling into dust. So here's what I need from you. Tap that like button if this resonated with you, not for me, but as a commitment to yourself that you're choosing the 5% path. Drop your affirmation in the comments. Which of these 7 practices hit hardest? Which one are you committing to starting today? Your comment is your contract with yourself. Subscribe for unapologetic Stoic truth every single week. No fluff, no excuses, just the ancient wisdom that builds modern warriors. The 95% will forget this video by tomorrow. They'll go back to comfort, to complaining, to blaming everyone but themselves for their emptiness. But you're different. You're here because something inside you refuses to settle. Something inside you knows you were meant for more. Honor that voice. It's not leading you wrong. These 7 practices are your blueprint. The question isn't whether they work, it's whether you have the courage to work them. The ancient Stoics faced wars, plagues, betrayals, and empires crumbling around them. They didn't have comfort. They didn't have therapy apps. They didn't have motivational videos. All they had were principles and the discipline to practice them daily. You have those same principles now, and unlike them, you have fewer excuses. So choose right now. Will you be part of the 95% who know but never do, or the 5% who do regardless of how they feel? Your life is the sum of your daily practices, and self-love isn't a destination, it's a discipline. Become the master of your mind. Rebuild, refocus, rise.